Shalom, friends. Welcome to this shiur, this continuation shiur from our previous shiur discussing the mitzvah of Sefirat HaOmer, the counting of the Omer. And we're speaking in particular about the idea of working on ourselves during this period of time. We're basing the shiurim. This is an introduction. It is the second in the series, in the introduction part, where we're discussing the ideas of how we need to understand how the Sefirot function. We're using both the revealed part of the Torah as well as the hidden part of the Torah to give us more insight into understanding how to work on ourselves during the 49 days of the counting of the Omer. We're making use of this book, which is called U'Sefartem Lachem, and it is written by the Kabbalist Rabbi Daniel Frisch, who died in the year 2005. I made an error in the previous lesson, and I said he died in 2006. In fact, it was 2005. And he was a very great tzaddik. He was known as the Matok Midvash, the Baal Matok Midvash. He wrote an entire commentary on the entire Zohar, and everybody is welcome to study this beautiful edition. And he was a great teacher in the Jewish people. And these are some of the works that he'd written. This is one of them, U'Sefartem Lachem. So in our previous shiur, we gave an introduction to how the mitzvah works, and now we're going to go into it in a little bit more detail. I'm going to be bringing into this shiur both aspects from the revealed Torah as well as aspects from the hidden Torah. We're going to look at some various teachings that help us understand the revealed side of how we count the Omer. We need to know the mitzvah, and thereafter we're going to look at some beautiful insights from the Zohar itself that tells us some deeper insights into understanding this mitzvah. There was a great rabbi who lived in the Sephardi world in Baghdad. His name was the Ben Ish Chai. Rabbi Yosef Chaim of Baghdad died in the year, I think it was 1909, and he was a great tzaddik and a great giant amongst the Jewish people. When he would give over his shiurim, one of the things that he used to do was to reveal in the shiur both the mitzvah that was applicable in terms of halacha, and he would discuss this in great detail, and thereafter he would also give a Kabbalistic insight. And if one purchases his beautiful works called the Ben Ish Chai, and you work through it systematically through each parsha, you will see that he opens up each parsha with a Kabbalistic, mystical insight into how the parsha, a mitzvah that pertains to the parsha, he gives a mystical insight. And then afterwards, he discusses the various halachot that pertain to one particular section in halacha, related to the parsha or related to the insight that he's given, etc., etc. When he would give his talks on Shabbat, it was known that he would talk for 3 to 4 hours non-stop, never sharing the same idea again. He was just a well that just continued to give, a fountain that continued to give of its waters over and over and more again and again. And during these shiurim, there were a few thousand people that were present on Shabbat. He never made use of a microphone. Everybody was able to hear him, and he would then reveal these beautiful secrets of the Torah together with the halacha. I mention that because this is part of the beauty of a shiur, is that one includes both the revealed part of the Torah and also the hidden part of the Torah. We need both of it. It is unacceptable to understand how the Sefirot are functioning. Chesed, Gevura, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, Malchut, and we start thinking of all sorts of kavanot. In the meantime, the mitzvah is to count the Omer. First, we need to understand how to count the Omer on a revealed level, and then we need to understand the mystical meaning behind it, and we put that into practice, and it makes the mitzvah all that more special. So we're going to begin the shiur. I'm going to be working from this book, and I'm also going to be showing various texts on the screen so everybody can follow and see exactly where I'm quoting from. Now, the first thing is the actual mitzvah to count the Omer. We see in the book Vayikra, in chapter 23, verse 15, we see over here that the pasuk teaches us, U'Sefartem Lachem mimacharas haShabbos miyom haviachem es Omer hatzanufa sheva Shabbosos temimos tihiena. It says, you shall count for yourselves from the day that follows the Sabbath, not to be understood literally that the counting begins, of course, after Shabbat, which means, Saturday night. The oral Torah, of course, tells us what this really means. It means the night that follows the first day of Pesach, which is actually the second day of Pesach, starting in the evening. And although there are certain sects in the world that in the old days, certainly, and I understand that there are still such individuals that follow such customs, that they believe that we only follow the literal meaning of the Torah, the as it says it in the Chumash. That's what it is, and these people don't believe in the oral Torah, so they literally begin their counting after the day following Shabbat, the Kiruim, the Karat, etc., etc. So anyway, the mitzvah says that we have to start counting from this day after Shabbat, which means the second day of Pesach. And this is from the day of your bringing of the Omer offering, the barley offering, which was offered on the first day of Pesach. And the idea is as follows. It is forbidden to reap or to eat. Obviously, if you can't eat, if you can't reap, you can't eat. The mitzvah says you can't eat, and you can't even reap the new crop until the Omer offering was offered. Once the Omer offering was offered in the Beis HaMikdash, it became permissible to eat of the new crop. So this is the idea. The Torah tells us when we bring this offering, so then we have to count 7 weeks, which are complete, and that's what they shall be, 7 complete weeks. We continue doing this ad mimacharas haShabbat hashvi'is tisperu 50 yom v'ikravtem mincha chadasha la'Adonai. And then we continue the counting until the day that follows the 7th week, in other words, of the Shabbat, meaning the 7 weeks. We count a total of 50 days, and then we have to bring a new mincha offering to God, which is going to be the offering that's brought on Shavuot. This is where the mitzvah begins. Let us see what Rabbi Daniel Frisch teaches us in the introduction that he brings down over here. He says that in the days that the Beit HaMikdash, the temple, was in existence, you should know that this mitzvah was a Torah mitzvah according to everybody. But after the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed, and we don't bring the Omer offering any longer, there's no Beit HaMikdash, we cannot bring the Korban offering. We're not quite sure, the Chachamim are debating this point, whether today the mitzvah is a Torah mitzvah, an obligation, or rabbinical in nature. Perhaps we do the counting only as a remembrance of the time that the Beis HaMikdash was around. Now, the Rambam tells us the following. The Rambam, Rav Moshe ben Maimon, 1135, or some say 1138 to 1204, that great giant Rishon, teacher of Torah, teacher of Halacha. His work is a basic guide to all of Halacha and includes within it the entire Torah. Anybody who wants to learn the entire Torah and he's having a hard time with, for example, he might be struggling with the Gemara and he feels he can't yet open it, he's struggling, he doesn't know what to do. So the Rambam tells us in the introduction, read my work from beginning to end and you will understand the entire Torah. Well, the Rambam brings down over here this wonderful halacha. He says, mitzvah asay lispor sheva shabbatot temimot miyom havaat haomer sheneemar. He says it's a positive mitzvah. Implication is it's a Torah mitzvah to count the 7 weeks which are complete from the day of the bringing of the Omer, as it says, and look what he does. He quotes for us the source that we just said, which is from the Torah itself. U'Sefartem Lachem imacharas haShabbos sheva shabbosos u'mitzvah limnos hayamim im haShavuot. The Rambam teaches us it is a mitzvah to count the days together with the weeks. Shnei Mar, as the pasuk says, tisperu 50 yom. You need to count 50 days. Meaning, if you had read the verse straightforward, you would have said, perhaps the mitzvah is only to count the 7 weeks, which means at the end of week number 1, say it is 1 week on the counting of the Omer, 2 weeks on the counting of the Omer, 3 weeks of the counting of the Omer. The Rambam says no, because we see also in the same place that we read that previous quote, just one more pasuk ahead, it says Tisperu 50 yom. It says count 50 days, which means what? We need to count both the days and the weeks. Umitchilas hayom monim, and from the beginning of the day we begin. Lefichach, therefore, moneh balayla milel 16 b'Nisan, and therefore we begin counting at the night time from the evening of the 16th day of Nisan. Pesach falls out on the 15th day of Nisan. We begin counting on the 16th of Nisan. When does the day begin in the Jewish calendar? Always at night time. The pasuk says, "Vayerev, vayivoker, yom echad." When God was creating the world, it was evening and it was day. It was evening and it was day. One day. When the evening comes and then the day comes, it is one day. One day is not daytime and then nighttime. It is nighttime and daytime. The night begins the actual day. When it comes to Shabbat, for example, we do not bring Shabbat in on Friday morning. We bring Shabbat in at Friday night time. Oh, why do we bring Shabbat in while it is still daytime? The answer is because we don't know exactly the point of when nighttime begins. So we bring Shabbat in a little bit earlier to make sure we are not transgressing Shabbat. Oh, that's interesting. Well, if we bring Shabbat in early, can't we also take Shabbat out early, meaning while it is still daytime? No, that is not true. Then we must wait until clearly the day has ended, which means it's completely dark. We're strict on the side of bringing Shabbat in, and we are strict on the side of bringing Shabbat out to make sure we have fulfilled the requirements of keeping Shabbat throughout the entire period from beginning to end. The day begins in the evening and the day continues through the day until the next evening when the next day begins. Therefore, the Rambam points out, when does the mitzvah of counting the Omer begin? It begins at the night time. The moment it is night, that is when the start of the mitzvah begins. Okay, this is what the Rambam says. For purposes of learning, let's go one step further. And we're bringing down here according to the author, who says over here that even though it is that chelek me'apoiskim soivrim, the Rambam, of course, holds like this, as well as numerous other poiskim, other numerous halachic authorities, hold that the gamata mitzvah midoraisa. Nowadays it is a Torah mitzvah. Avala tosafot. But the tosafot, who is the commentary on the Gemara, meaning Rashi comments on the Gemara, and the Tosafot also. And the Tosafot are the grandchildren of Rashi, and so on, and the group of rabbis who were in France at the time, and so on. And these rabbis debate the issue, and they say over there that, and according to Rova Poiskim, according to the majority of the halachic commentators, Cholkim ala Rambam, they argue against the Rambam, v'da'atam de mitzvah ha'omer noheget ata rak midrabanan. They hold that the mitzvah is only a rabbinical mitzvah in nature. Zeichel Mikdash, it's only as a remembrance of the Beis HaMikdash. So the counting of the Omer is not a Torah mitzvah. For example, a Torah mitzvah is, wear tefillin, for example. This is a Torah mitzvah. Keep Shabbat. This is a Torah mitzvah. So this is a rabbinical mitzvah, which means kind of if we don't do the mitzvah, it's really that we've just lost out on doing the mitzvah, but not necessarily that we transgressed a Torah instruction. Okay, that is according to the majority of poskim, but of course, as the Rambam is holding over here and other great authorities, it is still to be considered as a mitzvah d'oraisa, a Torah mitzvah. The word oraita is Aramaic, which means Torah. The word oraita, Torah means light, oraita, the Torah. So this is a Torah mitzvah. Okay, let us continue. Ulehalacha yesh kashivus lemachloikes zo. According to the halacha, there's an importance for this argument. We have a reason for it. As we're going to see later on, etc., more things. Aval b'davar kedushas yemei ha'omer. But according to this matter of the holiness of the days of the Omer, shenoheges l'doros, which is applicable for all generations, ubechovas ha'adam b'tikun ma'asav, and for the obligation of a person to correct his deeds, we need to correct ourselves. As we discussed in the previous shiur, everybody in the world is working on themselves to perfect their character traits. We are all doing it. Ein tzaddik ba'aretz asher ya'aseh tov v'lo yecheta, says King Solomon, the wisest of all men. There is no tzaddik in the world who only does good and never sins. Everybody slips up. Some people slip up more. So we need to constantly work on ourselves and to correct the flaws that we have. Nobody says it's easy. And each of us has our own task that we need to do. For some people, the bad attribute that a person might have is anger. Another one might have jealousy. Another one might have greed. Another one might be whatever it is. Just think about any bad attribute, and you'll know that you often are in touch with people who have this particular attribute, and you know how it goes. As soon as you see that person with that attribute, you say, how can that person be like that? How can a person be so angry? How can a person be so jealous? He has a problem. He has to work on himself. Well, that's the thing that he might have to do. But the thing that we have to do is what we have to do. So in other words, when we see the bad fault in the other person, we need to look at ourselves and say, what's my bad fault? And how can I work on my bad fault to repair it and to be a better person in that respect? Each person has his task in the world. Even the tzaddik needs to work on certain things because there's certain things on his level that need to be perfected. Even the tzaddik has to work on himself. Even if it's a fine point to make perfection, but still there's something to be done because there's nobody that's perfect. And the days of the Omer, as we said in the previous shiur, are all about working on ourselves. Okay, fine. Now, so the obligation of working on oneself never falls away. Yes, is it a Torah mitzvah to count? Is it a rabbinical mitzvah to count? We can sit and debate this until the end of time. But when it comes to working on ourselves, that mitzvah is applicable at all times. And the days of the Omer give us the opportunity to work on ourselves. Fine, let us see. But everybody agrees that is applicable all the time for all of us, in other words. As you're going to see later on in more detail. Okay, Tama mitzvah. The next chapter that we're looking at is the reasons for the mitzvah. Le mitzvah zo matzinu ta'amim rabim. For this mitzvah, there are a number of reasons. Ushnei ta'amim haim lanu la'einayim b'chibureinu zeh. And there are two reasons that are important for us in this book that he's written over here, and for the discussion that we're going to have together. Hatam harishon hu, first reason of the counting of the Omer is leharot b'nafsheinu, to show in ourselves et hacheshek hagadol leyom matan Torah, as we said in the previous lesson. It's to show the desire that we have to be excited about the giving of the Torah. The first thing we have in mind is the excitement every single day that we're getting closer to the receiving of the Torah. What can we liken that to, for example? Let's give an example. Imagine a person who knew, let us say, I'm going to give just an example that I'm thinking about in my mind. Let's say that a person had a parent who left them a very great inheritance, perhaps a large house, maybe a palace, whatever it is. And the parent died, but in the will, the parent writes that when you get to the age, when the child gets to the age of 21, then this particular inheritance falls to his lot. Then he can have the palace. Then he can have whatever it is, the $20-30 million that was left, $500 million, whatever it was that he got, good for him. And he's able now to enjoy the fruits that his parent had left him. So he knows it's coming. Now, when the child is 16 years old already, the child starts learning about this idea. His parent had left him all this money and the palace, etc. It's all his. He says, when am I going to get it? Well, don't worry about it. You're going to get it. 17 years old. He's still asking, when are you going to get it? 18 years old. Still. And then they tell him, when you turn 21, you're going to get it. Wow, 21. Now he starts counting the years. 18, 19, 20. Oh, now he starts counting. I'm 20 years old. I'm 20 years old in a month. 2 months, 3 months. In just a few months' time, it's all going to be mine. I'm so excited. Okay, on the one hand, I lost my parent. It's true. It's not such a good example to give because of the loss of the parents. But the idea is that the gift is coming, and he's looking forward to the gift that he's going to inherit. It's his. By rights, he is going to have this particular gift. It belongs to him. He's excited for it. Matan Torah is the giving of the Torah. Everything that we learn in this shiur and any other shiur, and if you've gone onto the internet and you've looked at YouTube videos and you see people teaching Torah left, right, and center, and you say to yourself, oh, this sounds very interesting. Where did he get it from? That's the Torah. This is the Torah that was given on Har Sinai on Shavuot. Oh, so everything that I'm doing here is because of receiving that beautiful teaching. Everything. The written Torah, the oral Torah, the revealed Torah, the hidden Torah. The rabbis throughout the generations who've all added their chidushim, questions and answers about life, about how to do things. All sorts of things are included in the Torah. It's very exciting. Oh, so that's an interesting idea. So now that I'm getting closer to Matan Torah, it's the whole purpose of my creation. Without the Torah, what will I have? I'll have life, my ordinary life. I'll eat and drink. I'll take a shower. I'll do what I need to do. I'll get married. I have children and grandchildren. Then life will carry on. Fantastic. And I'll be a doctor or a lawyer or an accountant or a plumber. Whatever I'll be, electrician, fantastic. And I'll get on with my life. And life will be good to me. I'll earn a living. I'll be good to people. Fantastic. But when one puts the Torah into the equation of life, the whole of life becomes a meaningful experience. One starts to realize that there is a purpose to creation. It is not just to eat and drink so that I can work. It is not just so that I can get married and have children. It is deeper. There's the concept of life itself, of who I am, my soul, my body, and those I interact with, and the relationship I have to God and the relationship to myself. I need to come to terms with who I am, as we said in the previous shiur, and in other shiurim has been discussed before. Sometimes people cannot get in touch with themselves. They don't know who they are. And they become great. They become YouTube influencers. And they have millions of people who are following them, and they give up on life because they didn't come to terms with understanding who they were. What's my purpose here? Didn't see the purpose yet. So therefore, the Torah teaches us what life is. The Torah is the guide and the essential instruction manual for all of life. And let me just point out over here that when I say that, the Torah is giving instructions for life for the entire world. The Torah instructs the Jew in a particular way with 613 mitzvot. The Torah instructs the non-Jew with 7 mitzvot, 7 commandments that the non-Jew needs to do. This is how the world functions in a way of peace and cooperation amongst each other. We all need the Torah. And therefore, to a certain extent, even if we think about the idea of Bnei Noach, those who are following in the direction of these 7 mitzvot, that the day of Shavuot, even though they're not going to observe it as the Yom Tov that it is, with all of its restrictions and etc., to a certain degree, even a Ben Noach can come to appreciate that this is the day that the Torah was given to the world. God made an interaction to the entire world, to the Jewish people in particular, but to the entire world, that God wants the world to function according to certain rules. This is fantastic. What are these rules? This is what life is about. The Torah has been waiting for 2,000, the Torah has been waiting for 3,000 years already, more than 3,000 years. And we don't yet have the fullness of what it's all about. And sorry, for 2,000 years. Let me go back again. The Torah is waiting for 2,448 years. I'm just confusing a few points over here. Really, it starts off at the time of Abraham in the year 1948 he's born, not 1948 in our calculation, 1948 in the Hebrew calculation from the time of the creation of the world, and then at the age of 52 he begins to reveal what the Torah is to the rest of the world, and that is the year 2000. So for 2,000 years there's nothing, and then in the year 2448 the Torah is given, and then the Torah starts to be taught throughout the ages. So for 2,448 years the world is lacking this Torah, this teaching that God wants, which is the essence of life. Now, when the essence of life comes into the world, what a great joy it is. There's the inheritance, there's the gift, there's the palace, there's the wealth, whatever you want to call it. It's the ultimate wealth for the entire world. Now, this is the idea. On level number 1 is that we have our desire for Shavuot. Matan Torah. The Torah is being given. Fantastic. V'atam hasheni, the second reason that we're doing this counting is ki b'zman ha'hamtana liyoyim Matan Torah nachin et atzmeinu kara'oi. In the time that we prepare for Matan Torah, we have the opportunity to get ourselves ready in a way that is fitting for the day. I'll give you another example. Imagine, let's use the example of the palace again. We're going to meet the king. The king has invited us for tea and coffee and some cookies and some cake. It's going to be a fantastic time. We're going to meet the king. Well, let's even go one step further. Maybe it's even for a dinner. Oh, and the king is inviting everybody around, all the nations of the world. Many people are coming through for this fantastic dinner. So they tell us from the palace, we need to prepare to see the king. You can't just arrive there in your denims and torn t-shirt. You need to arrive there in a beautiful suit with a beautiful tie, a nice hat, perhaps, clean shoes, maybe brand new shoes, sparkling, lovely. And please do have a shower before going, freshen up, wash your hair if you have any, or wash your body, make sure you smell good, whatever's necessary to be done. It's a preparation. Make sure you've got your gift ready. If you need to give the king a gift, whatever it may be, it's going to be a super time. And we need to prepare for this honorable occasion. Well, of course, as we get closer and closer to the day, we see that we've got the suit ready. We see we've got the hat ready. We see whatever it's necessary to have ready. We get ready. When it comes to the afternoon preceding the day, we get even more ready. Now we're going through the main steps to prepare ourselves so that we're ready to go and be chauffeured to see the king in all his glory with everybody around him. It's a fantastic time. We need to prepare. So when we go from Pesach, which is the Exodus from Egypt, until Shavuot, which is the receiving of the Torah, the main thought in our mind is, how do I prepare myself to receive the Torah? Not that I just wake up in the morning on Shavuot morning and I say, hey, it's Shavuot today. I think I'll go to shul and, well, I'll just see how the Torah reads. That's fantastic. Have we got food ready for lunch? Who cares? It doesn't matter. We'll just take the day as it comes. No, we get everything ready in its right time. And there are things to be done not just on Erev Shavuot or the week before Shavuot. Things begin already from the beginning of Pesach. I prepare myself not just physically, but I prepare myself, more importantly, spiritually. And as we learned before, as we said, we discussed this issue before, it's vital that the things that we prepare for between Pesach and Shavuot are also things we prepare for throughout the year. It's not just a one-time thing. 7 weeks, gone. Start, end, finished. I saw the king. We had the cookies and cake and tea and coffee. We had a great time, and it's all over. I'm sure the king probably won't invite me again, but it was all worth it. And now it's over. I can wear the suit whenever I want to, and I can get it dirty, and nobody cares any longer. On the contrary, the preparation that we're doing now at this time between Pesach and Shavuot is the same preparation we need to do throughout the year. It's just that from Pesach to Shavuot, it's a special time to concentrate on exactly what we need to do. Okay, that's the second reason. So we prepare ourselves, b'kedusha v'tahara, with holiness and purity. These are golden words in the Torah, holiness and purity. The life of a Jew is one which includes holiness and purity. Everything that we do in life must be related to matters that say, is this turning me into a greater person? That's what holiness is. That's what purity is. Where my being is one, like, for example, if we compare the idea of physicality and we compare somebody who is physically filthy, who was in the mud, the kids were playing in the mud. They're having a great time. They were at kindergarten. They got into the sand pit and the mud was flying. They're filthy. They come home. They look terrible, filthy with the mud all over them. So what a shock. But we need to be clean. We need to approach life looking acceptable without the mud on our faces and the rest of our bodies. Yeah, for the kids, it's okay to get dirty. But as soon as he comes home, we've got to clean him up. We've got to tell him this is not the way of life. The fun is over. Remove the dirt and become clean. So too in the spiritual world, all the more so, we have to continue to work on ourselves that the spiritual is clean. We call that holiness and purity. How do I make myself a more holy person? How do I make myself a more pure person? By fulfilling the mitzvot. Doing positive mitzvot, 248 mitzvahs. By refraining from negative mitzvot, 365 negative mitzvot. The Torah includes all of that. That's Matan Torah. We're going to receive the Torah on Shavuot, and I will know how to purify myself in the future. That's how we purify. That is how we prepare ourselves. And we should know that the two of them, these two reasons, are not divisive in nature. It's not that the one is dividing over the other. You could do the one, you don't have to do the other, don't have to do the one. Both of them are included in each other. It's like one unity. Okay. So the first thing is we need to get excited about the desire. We need to show this desire. The Midrash Ne'emar, it says in the Midrash, at the time that Moshe said to the Jewish people, you shall serve God al haharazeh, on this mountain. Amru lo Yisrael, the Jewish people said to God, or they said to Moshe, Moshe Rabbeinu, Masai avoidazor. When are we going to do this? When are we doing this work? Or Malahem, he said to them, the Sof Chamishim Yom. The work is going to happen at the end of 50 days. Meaning, after we leave Egypt, 50 days after we leave Egypt, that is when we're going to serve God on the mountain. How do we serve God? All right, let's see. That's more. Everybody began to count for themselves. And therefore, the Chachamim fixed up this counting of the Omer during this period of time, because Moshe told the Israelites, who would become the Jewish people, of course, he told them, prepare yourselves to serve God on the mountain. When is that going to be, Moshe? 50 days' time. That's when you're going to serve God. That's when you get the Torah. Start counting. Therefore, these days were fixed as Sefirat HaOmer. Now, let's take a look over here. Let's take a look at a source over here from the Rambam, Rav Moshe ben Maimon again, who we already quoted, and we were speaking about him in terms of his Mishnah Torah. And we're going to take a look at what he said in the Moreh Nevuchim. Moreh Nevuchim is a book which is all about the guide for the perplexed, people who want more insight into the philosophy of life, of Torah, of God, etc. He includes all these things in the Moreh Nevuchim. A fantastic work to learn for those who have the patience to go through it. Not necessarily the first book that one should pick up, but nevertheless a worthwhile book to look at. Okay. He says the following: Shavuot, Sefirat HaOmer, Kvod Matan Torah. This is about the mitzvah of Shavuot and Sefirat HaOmer and the honor of Matan Torah. Shavuot, Yom Matan Torah. Shavuot is the day of the giving of the Torah. Kedei l'romeim et HaOmer, Kedei l'romeim et Hayom hazeh ulagdil oto. In order to exalt this day, to make it greater. Hayamim nisparim min hachag harishon adei lav. What we do is that we count the days. The days are counted from the festival, from the first festival, meaning Pesach, until the day itself. Like a person is waiting for a beloved one to come to him. Beyoter. This is we're talking about a person that we're waiting for somebody who's the most beloved person who's coming to greet us, and we're waiting in anticipation. And the person, as we said before, same story. He's counting the days and the hours. He says, when's he coming? 3 o'clock on Thursday afternoon. Whoa, he's counting the days. It's Sunday, it's Monday, it's Tuesday. When he gets to Thursday, it starts at 6 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. He's getting excited. His best friend, his family member is coming from overseas at the airport, whatever. He's going to be here soon. It's so exciting. He's getting excited. This is the reason, says the Rambam, for the counting of the Omer. Miyom azivtem es Mitzrayim, from the day when you left Egypt, ad yom matan Torah, until the giving of the Torah, shehu haya matara v'tachlis b'yetziatam. And this was, of course, the purpose and the whole goal of leaving Egypt. Atem ri'isem asher asisi leMitzrayim. You saw what I did for Egypt. V'aseh al kanfei nesharim, and I carried you on the wings of eagles. V'avi etzkem elai, and I have brought you towards me. This is what Hashem says, which is coming to teach us that the important thing to understand is that we must go towards the day, says the Rambam, like as if we were greeting a beloved, somebody we were anticipating. We couldn't wait to greet them, and here's the moment it's going to happen. Okay? Now, we're going to go one step further, and I'm going to read the mitzvah of the counting of the Omer as it is brought down in the famous work called the Sefer HaChinuch. Many people might not see this work being discussed too much on YouTube. I'm not quite sure how many people are giving shiurim. I haven't actually looked at it. The Sefer HaChinuch is a wonderful book. It is a book which includes all 613 mitzvot of the Torah. It goes through parsha by parsha, Bereshit, etc., etc. Each parsha as it comes. In fact, we know that in the book of the first book of the Torah in Bereshit, not Parsha Bereshit, but in any case, in the first book of the Torah in Bereshit, that there are only 3 mitzvot in the whole Torah, and then afterwards the other mitzvot start. So we kind of jump already into the book of Shemot. But there are 613 mitzvot. We need to understand what the mitzvot are. And this book was written in approximately the 13th century. Some say that a man by the name of Rabbi Aharon HaLevi wrote it. It makes no difference in my life because I don't know who Aharon HaLevi was exactly, and I'm not quite sure how he fitted into the whole scheme of Torah teaching. But in any case, the majority of opinions say that this is an anonymous work. Nobody knows who wrote it. You know, in the old days, when people wrote books, they didn't feel the need to put their name on it. They just wanted to teach Torah. If you could learn Torah from them, it was fantastic. They didn't need to put their names on it. In today's times, life is different, and one wants to sell a book, one wants to put the name of somebody that everybody knows. That's going to be the bestseller. All the more so if we can find somebody who will allow us to use their name on our book and make a partnership and who knows what, so that we can sell more books and be successful, we're going to do it. In today's times, we're interested in the name of the name of the book, the name of the author of the book. In the days gone by, people would write books anonymously because they were only too happy to spread Torah. Now, in the Sefer HaChinuch, which contains the 613 mitzvahs, as per each parsha, discussing the mitzvah as it pertains to the parsha, the Sefer HaChinuch discusses the mitzvah from many perspectives. It is not a halachic work per se, but it certainly gives us a great guide to the halacha. And that's how we're going to read it, because the basis of the halacha can be understood from the way that the Sefer HaChinuch is explaining the mitzvah to us. We're going to learn about the mitzvah of counting the Omer from the Sefer HaChinuch. We're going to hear something that might have a bit of moral value to it. We'll hear the technical halachic value to it. We'll see some particulars to it. Okay, bear with me, because if you can get through this, we've got some exciting things that are going to be added after this, where we're going to look at some ideas in the Zohar itself, and we're also going to look at a wonderful Sefer called the Chesed LaAvraham, written by Rabbi Avraham Ozulai, who's going to bring a unique Kabbalistic teaching that many of us are totally unaware of, but by the time we finish reading it, it's really going to make an impression upon us. So stay tuned. Okay, here is the mitzvah of Sefirat HaOmer according to the Sefer HaChinuch. Mitzvah. Lispor Tisha V'Arbaim. Oh, sorry, I forgot to mention. This is now mitzvah number 306. This is mitzvah number 306 of the 613 mitzvahs. It is a mitzvah Lispor Tisha V'Arbaim Yom Yom Ha'avas HaOmer. There's a mitzvah to count 49 days from day to day, from the time of the bringing of the Omer, Shehu Yom Shisha Asar Nisan, which is the 16th day of Nisan. From the 16th day of Nisan, meaning in the evening, of course, as we learnt already, and we'll see it in more detail. Then we begin. This is the night after the first day of Pesach. Shnei Emaz, the Pasuk says again. Do you see how every single posek comes along and quotes this as the source, so that we know exactly what the mitzvah is? U'Sefartem Lachem imachrat haShabbat miyom aviachem es Omer atnufa. Fine. V'aminyan hazeh chova. This counting is an obligation, says the Sefer HaChinuch. And we must count the days every single day. The days. Also the weeks. It is insufficient to say today is 10 days of the Omer. Today is 20 days of the Omer. We must say today is 10 days of the Omer. It makes 1 week and 3 days. We're going to have to do it that way. Because the Pasuk says that we need to count 50 days. And it also says and it also says in Devarim, Shiva Shavuot tispor lach. You need to count for yourselves 7 weeks. Ubeperush Omar Abaye begemorah b'menachos. And in explanation, Abaye, the great rabbi of the Talmud, says to us in Gemara Menachot, mitzvah lemimnei yoime u'mitzvah lemimnei shavuot. It is a mitzvah to count the days, and it is a mitzvah to count the weeks. V'yesh min ha'mefarshim, there are those who are commentators who say, Shahayadatam ki kavanas ha'kasov limnos ha'shavuot davka k'shehein shleimim. Some people had said that the intention of the verse is to count the weeks specifically as they are when they are complete. Aval haskir b'chol yom v'lomar shehem kach v'chach yamim. But to say every single day that today is so many days, v'kach v'chach shavuot, and so many weeks, ain't tzorech. You don't have to say that. Some people say like that. V'yesh mehem shamru, some say, says the Rosh, ki haderech hanivcha lahaskir minin ha-shavuot im hayamim tamid b'chol yom. That the chosen way, the best way to do it is to make mention of the counting of the weeks together with the days. Tamid b'chol yom, every single day, always, v'yirei shamayim, and somebody who fears heaven, yivchada kam le'otzi mikol safek, he should fulfill the obligation by counting and choose this particular direction according to those poskim that say indeed one must count the days and one must count the weeks. It is insufficient to count just the weeks, and of course that is how we paskin in halacha. Don't worry about all the extra, all the things that we say, extra words. Don't worry about it. And so we are accustomed to today in all places that we've heard that this is what it is. V'kasav Rambam Zikron Livracha, and the Rambam says, "V'al yateo escham Ram Zikron Livracha." Don't get mistaken and think that mitzvah lemimnei yom or mitzvah lemimnei shavua. He says, don't think that it's a mistake that you need to count the days as well as the weeks. But think shehem shtei mitzvot, and then you might think to yourself, hold on a second, this counting of the days and the weeks, maybe it's two mitzvahs. You know, when we put on tefillin, well, tefillin on the arm, tefillin on the head. Is it one mitzvah or two mitzvahs? A mitzvah on the arm and a mitzvah on the head? Or is it one mitzvah, the arm and the head? Same story here. Is it really two mitzvahs? Or maybe it's one mitzvah? Then maybe the mitzvah is not by itself. Maybe it's just a portion of the mitzvah. Really, there are two mitzvahs. If we were to say that the counting of the days is a mitzvah and the counting of the weeks is a mitzvah, and this is not hidden from somebody who pays attention to this thing. And let's explain it. When you say that there's an obligation that it should be such and such, that there's no obligation from this, that it's a mitzvah to itself. And the proof that's explained about this is that we count the weeks as they are every night. When we say that it's so many weeks and so many days. The Rambam points out to us, if it were to be that we'd be counting the Shavuot, the weeks, as a mitzvah to themselves, then they would have only organized things in a way that the weeks would have been counted at the point in time that the week is counted. And then there'd be two blessings. There's a counting of the days of the Omer. And then there's a mitzvah for counting the weeks. It's not so. The mitzvah is to count the days and also the weeks, as we said. The Rambam concludes, the Sefer HaChinuch brings it down as halacha according to the understanding of the Sefer HaChinuch, which is not a book in telling us the halachic guidance in a perfect manner. There are many other works we need to study to be able to understand what's halacha. It's guiding us in the path to help us understand what the mitzvah is. And the first thing that he brings down for us is to let us know it's one mitzvah. Count the days and count the weeks. Bishoshaya mitzvah, of part of the roots of the mitzvah, is outside the pshat, in the simple way of understanding, is lefishe kol ikaran shel Yisrael eino ela haTorah. The whole essence of the Jewish people is the Torah. Umitnei haTorah nivru hashamayim. And because of the Torah, the heavens were created. Nivru shamayim va'aretz, and the land, the earth. As it's written, Im lo brisi yomam v'layla, the pasuk says, were it not to be for my covenant day and night, Im lo brisi yomam v'layla, chukot shamayim v'aretz lo samti, I would not have set up the structure of the heavens and the earth. So, in other words, the bris, the covenant, is the Torah itself. And there, the prophet Yirmiyahu is sharing the mind of God, who is saying to us, were it not to be for my covenant, day and night, God would not have set up creation as he has. He would not have allowed creation to exist. The whole idea of creation existing is because of the Torah that is being studied day and night. The Torah asks, why is it that there is day on this side of the world and night on that side of the world? And then when it turns around, we have the opposite, where the day is on the other side of the world and the night is on the other side of the world. The Torah teaches us so that when those people on the one side of the world are sleeping, the others will be awake. But for what purpose? For work? What are we doing? For studying Torah. And in that way, the Torah will be studied day and night, non-stop. Were the Torah to be stopped studying for one moment in all of existence, the world would revert back to nothingness and void, chaos and void. How do I know that? Because of this pasuk, Im lo brisi yomam v'layla, were it not for my covenant day and night, which means that the covenant must be functioning constantly. The study of Torah must be happening constantly. This is the main reason that the Jewish people were redeemed from Egypt, in order that the Jewish people would receive the Torah at Sinai and would fulfill it. And as Hashem said to Moshe in Shmos in the book of Exodus, Gimel Yud Beis, this is the sign, that I have sent you. When you take out the nation of Israel from Egypt, when you take the nation out, you shall serve God on this mountain. And this explanation of the pasuk that says that you're being taken, that you're going to take them out, Mitzrayim, from Egypt. This is the sign. Klomar, what? That they're going to receive the Torah, which is the main part, the most important part. And it was for this that the Jewish people were redeemed, and this is the main purpose of the good for them. And it is a great matter for them, even more so than the idea of gaining one's freedom from slavery. And therefore, Hashem will do for them a sign when they go out, me'avdus lekabbalat haTorah. He will make signs for them as they are taken out from slavery to receive the Torah, ki hatafel oisin oiso ois leolam ela ikar, because the sign itself will be the secondary thing to the action itself. Hatafel, the secondary, oise oiso ois, that becomes the sign leolam, always, ela ikar. So this is the sign. What is the sign? The sign is the giving of the Torah for the ikar, which is the creation of the world. And for this reason, ki he call Ikaran shel Israel. This is the main thing of the Jewish people. And it was for this that they were redeemed, and they went up, they ascended to all the greatness that they ascended to. We were commanded to count from the day following the Yom Tov of Pesach ad Yom Netinas HaTorah, until the day of the giving of the Torah, to show that the great desire that we have for this day, hanichbad, this honorable day, hanichsaf, the desire day, for our heart, like a slave who desires the shade, like a servant who's exhausted and all he wants is some shade that he can rest by. That's to get him great satisfaction. And he's constantly counting, when will this desired time come about? It will come to him that he can finally go free. Because the counting shows Adam, to a person, that his whole essence and his desire is to get to this time. And this is what we count in the Omer, klomar, to say, kach v'kach yamim avru min haminyan. So many days have passed by in the counting. And we don't count the opposite. We don't say that there are so many days still left. Rather, we say this is how many days there are. Ki calls them Marilan, all of this shows us the great desire that we have to get to the time. And therefore, lo nirtzel haskir b'tchilas cheshbonenu. Riboy hayamim. We don't desire to mention at the beginning of the counting how many days that there are sheyesh lanu lahagia lekorban shtei halechem shel atzeres, to get to the day of Shavuot, when we offer the offering of the two loaves on the day of Shavuot. Don't be thinking that it's a difficult thing to say. If so, after the majority of days have passed by, of these 7 weeks, why don't we count the days that are left? I'm already close to it. 40 days, I have 10 days left. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Why don't we do that? Since we don't want to change the nature of the counting, but in the middle, so we keep it that way. In other words, when we start off day 1, we say our excitement, we've started. Day 2, we're excited. 2, we're excited. 3, we're excited. 4. Then afterwards, once we get closer, we continue with the excitement. We don't say that there are now 10 days, 9 days, 8 days, because the structure of the counting remains the same. Fine. The im tishal. And if you ask, if so, why do we begin it after the first Yom Tov of Pesach, Yom Rishon, and not from the first day? The answer is, the first day is all set up for the purpose of mentioning the miracle Hagadol, the great miracle. And this is the Exodus of Egypt. That this is a sign and a wonder in the renewal of the world, and on the providence, the divine providence of Hashem on people. And we don't mix up one happy occasion with another, a principle in the Torah. We never mix up one happy occasion with another. We have each happy occasion to what it is. Today is the birthday day. Let us celebrate. Today is the anniversary, the wedding anniversary. Yes, let us celebrate that. Today is a graduation day. Let us celebrate that. Each day has its own celebration. We don't want to mix all the celebrations in one shot and then go out for a meal in celebration on one occasion. We want to celebrate each thing in its own time. Therefore, and therefore we begin it on the second day immediately. And don't say, don't count that way. Don't say today is so many days since the second day of Pesach. Because it shouldn't be that the counting, that it's fitting to say that it's from the second day. And therefore it was established to count the counting from what already was done. And that relates to the Korban Omer, that Omer offering, Shehu Korban Nichbad, which was an honorable offering. That is the remembrance, that is the occasion that we are believing, that we have faith in. That's what we do. Ki Hashem, we believe, Ki Hashem Baruch Hu, that Hashem, blessed is He, ba'ashkachaso, with His divine providence, al b'nei Adam, upon people, rotzeh lachayosam, that He wants to give them life, u'mechadesh lahem b'chol shana, and He wants to renew for them every year, b'shana, and every year, zera tevuos lichiot bo, seed of produce, in order that they shall live. Midinei ha-mitzvah, we come to the end of this lengthy teaching of the Sefer HaChinuch, of this mitzvah. What our rabbis have taught in the Gemara Menachos, it says, the mitzvah is to do the counting in the evening, in order that the days will be perfect, and the weeks will be perfect. In other words, we start in the evening to conclude in the evening, to make it absolutely complete from one side to the next. Because the pasuk says everything should be perfect. And the rabbi said, when are they going to be perfect, complete? When we start the counting in the evening. Nevertheless, the rabbis explain, if a person forgot, and he didn't count it in the evening, one may still do the counting the next day, although according to halacha, one may not make the blessing in the daytime. The blessing only applies at the night time. Although one may continue counting the next night even with the blessing, but nevertheless, in the daytime, when he remembers, he should not recite the blessing. Rather, he should just count, and the next night he may count even with the blessing. Not according to the exact language of the Sefer HaChinuch. Let us see. Some say, somebody who forgot and he didn't count one day, he shouldn't count any longer that year, because it's all one mitzvah. And since he's now already forgotten one day, he's lost out on the whole counting. And our teachers do not agree in our generation with this logic. But a person who forgot one day, he should say that last night was such and such without a blessing. And that is the custom, but you don't have to say last night. Just say today is the such and such day of the Omer. Or mitzvah min ha-muvchar. And the choicest way of doing the mitzvah is, says the Rambam, limnot ma'umad. One should do so standing up. Umevarech asher kedishanu. We make the brocha asher kedishanu b'mitzvosav v'tzivanu al Sefirat HaOmer. Umi shemana below bracha. If a person counted without a blessing, yatsa, he fulfilled his obligation. Ve'eno rasha lachzor v'limnos bibracha. And he says not to continue counting with the blessing, although that is not the accepted halacha. V'yetze prateha, and more details can be found b'masechet menachot. V'noheket mitzvah Sefirat HaOmer midoraisa b'chol makom b'zecharim, and the mitzvah of counting the Omer is a Torah mitzvah in every place as it applies to males. Bizman habayis sheyesham Omer, when it's the time of the temple, when there is the Omer offering, or midrabanan, but it's a rabbinical mitzvah, b'chol makom, in every place, va'afilu she'ein Omer karev, even when the Omer is not offered. Va'over al zeh, a person who transgresses this, v'lo safar yamim, and he doesn't count the days, elu, these days, bitel aseh. What he does is he loses out on a positive mitzvah. Okay, let us see where we are. We have some Zohars that we need to do, and we have a beautiful teaching also from the Chesed LaAvraham. And I think that the best is just to conclude the shiur where we are at the moment. And in the next shiur, Bli Neder Be'ezrat Hashem, if we get there, we're going to look at some beautiful teachings of the Zohar and of the Chesed LaAvraham. I'm very sorry that I was not able to do that, but I see that the time is running out for today. It's become a lengthy shiur. We'll do that in the next shiur. See you then, and thank you very much for joining me. I'm Eliyahu Shir from Chesed Ve'emet, www.lovingkindness.co. If you enjoyed the shiur or got something out of it, please do like the shiur by clicking on the thumbs up button, and also share the shiur with family and friends. Please feel free to make comments or be in touch with me directly via my site. Anything that you'd like to say, to add to it, whatever you want to say, I'd be happy to be in touch about anything. Of course, if you'd like to learn with me one-on-one in any book of the Torah, or to learn some Sefirot, or alternatively, if you're interested in pursuing life challenges and you're looking for a way to reach your goals and you're just not quite sure how to get there, I do offer spiritual coaching, and we can discuss your life in a positive frame of mind to get to a destination and see how we can really improve on our lives. So please be in touch with me, and we can grow together further onwards. Thank you for joining me. I wish you everything of the best, and I look forward to another shiur. Take care. Shalom, shalom. Bye-bye.